Hey there, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and this is the Not So Serious Keto video podcast. Normally, I record it sitting over here, but today I'm recording it sitting over here. How's that for exciting? Now, I want to start this podcast by just one more time mentioning my other channel. Well, this won't be the last time I mention it, but the last time I mention it prior to my extended fast, my other channel, Lean Body Mind. I've mentioned in previous podcasts that I'm going to cover my extended fast over there so as to not clutter up Serious Keto. Plus, it's not even so much about cluttering up Serious Keto as I figure the people that are over on Lean Body Mind are over there because they want to be there. They want to be there specifically for that content rather than broader keto content. So Lean Body Mind, I will include a link down in the description below to that. My intent is to do a fast probably between 5 and 7 days. I'm not exactly sure how long it's going to go because I don't know how long my wife Terry is going to be gone. She and her family are going to some NASCAR race down in Tennessee. I'm not interested in that. I love the idea of just being home alone by myself, getting a ton of things done, and doing an extended fast for the first time in a couple of years. Now, if you are not into fasting or extended fasting, I don't need to hear about it. That's fine. That's cool. You do your life. I'll do mine. For those of you who want to be part of it, come on over to Lean Body Mind. I will be recording a sort of a pre-kickoff video that will release, well, if you're watching this on Monday, it's either going to release on Monday or it might have released yesterday on Sunday. But regardless, it probably is going to be out there, sort of a how to get prepped for an extended fast. That video will be there, and I will be doing probably live streams or little videos every day, just chronicling the fast over there. So check it out. That's it for the plug for Lean Body Mind. Now, I was kind of struggling to come up with ideas for the podcast today. There's one, and I don't know, we'll see how long this runs, and then I'll decide whether or not I want to cover it. That's all I'm going to say about that. But what I did, and I do this from time to time with my paid channel members, is I'll reach out to them, I'll send them a community message and ask, do you have any ideas for a podcast? Anything you'd like me to cover? And a lot of the questions that I got were kind of, I don't know, either like cooking videos or perhaps some sort of a standalone topic. But I'm going to try and wrap some of them together. And this is one of the perks, I guess, of being a paid channel member, is you do get to dictate a little bit of the content on this channel. And one of the questions I got was related to sort of summertime, little day trips, cookouts, things like that, opportunities where you could find yourself tempted to go off keto, or you may be put into a situation where you feel like you have no choice but to go off keto. So I got multiple questions about that, and I'm going to kind of wrap those all together because I think the idea or the questions came from me talking about a little day trip that we took to the Wisconsin Dells to a water park. And just in case you're not over on Lean Body Mind, I'll give you a little bit of the story behind that. It was a lot of fun. Colton and I had a blast. But at the end of the day, near the end of the day, it was probably around 4 o'clock, Colton and I were playing around in one of those big multi-purpose jungle gym water park sort of things. You know, there's like little water slides and the big squirt guns and that giant bucket of water that dumps down every few minutes. And there were a lot of really misbehaved kids, you know, pushing, shoving, cutting in line, trying to push me out of the way. Good luck with that. But one kid came running up these stairs, and it was right as the big bucket of water was tipping down, and he kind of, pushed me a little bit, and I slid, and my foot got wedged between two planks. I don't know what kind of material it is, pressed nylon or some sort of material, but my foot got wedged into it quickly and badly, and it mangled a couple of toes pretty good. Definitely broke the pinky toe on my right foot. And and then there was some blood and stuff, but not until I managed to get down and get back to my lounge chair and get a towel on it. So no DNA or biological contaminants into the water supply. Anyhow, one of the questions that I got about that is, did you swear? And no, I didn't. I've done a very good job about controlling my language since Colton was born. Prior to Colton, I kind of used F-bombs almost as much as Penn Jillette. They were practically a noun determiner. But now my language is very much G-rated. However, when we were coming back, and I know I promised I would get to the staying keto story, but just bear with me because Colton is an absolute sponge and he just picks up everything. It's amazing. And Terry was driving, she likes to drive, and she was driving and we were just a few blocks away from home, and I think her attention kind of dwindled or something. We're going down this 35-mile-an-hour street. She's driving like 20 as we're approaching a yellow light. And I'm like, well, there's no way we're going to make it. But she just keeps driving. The light went red well before she got to it, and then she continued to drive right through it. And I said, what the hell? And then Colton immediately from the back seat said, yeah, Grandma, what the hell? So then I immediately said, Colton, that Grandpa shouldn't have said that. I should have said, what the heck? But so this water park story, the question came up, how do you handle it when you're going to an amusement park like Great America? We took Colton to Great America a few weeks ago, and then we went to this water park in the Dells. How do you stay keto? Well, I've got a few strategies. One is you can pack keto stuff. It gets a little bit hard in the summer because a lot of the stuff, the bars and things can melt, but there's a brand, I think it's Duke's. They have individually wrapped beef sticks, and there's no weird additives in it. There's nothing that would trigger the ingredient police. And of course, they're temperature stable and they're individually wrapped. So that's a possibility. If you're going someplace where it's going to be temperature controlled, then things like cheese sticks or keto bars or things like that work. Another strategy, I don't typically eat breakfast, but maybe once, maybe twice a week. For the most part, my breakfast is coffee. I pretty much intermittent fast, and as a result, I don't generally eat anything until a snack sort of mid-afternoon. Sometimes I don't eat till dinner. I'm, one meal a day. But if I'm going to be going someplace like a water park, an amusement park, something like that, where the only food options are pretty much going to be junk food, popcorn and nachos and giant pretzels and funnel cakes and Dippin' Dots and things like that, I will eat breakfast. So I'll have a big protein-packed, fatty breakfast, bacon and eggs generally, and then I'm good. I'm good all day. I don't have any hunger. Another thing that you can also do sort of proactively is try doing an occasional extended fast. And mostly for the whole psychological aspect of it, teaching yourself that it's possible to go a day without eating. You don't need to snack all day. So that's another strategy. The third strategy gets a little bit more difficult because it can be hard to seek out some sort of keto-friendly or keto-ish type of an option. At this particular water park, they had a place that did gyros, and they had chicken. I don't know. It was not a chicken kebab. It was just they had strips of unbreaded chicken that had been seasoned and baked. And I asked for one of those like French fry boats. I said, can you just fill one of those up with the chicken pieces for me? I don't need a pita. I don't need rice or anything I don't need fries. Just put the chicken into the basket. I'll take some onion, a little tomato, and some tzatziki, and, I'll be good. And, there were probably a couple of carbs there between the tomatoes and the onions and the tzatziki, but close enough. Close enough when you're out at an amusement park or at a water park to be keto. Later on that evening, we went out to dinner, and we went to an Italian restaurant, and that is tough. In terms of restaurants where you can eat easily and stay keto, Italian can be pretty tough. What I did, we split an appetizer of meatballs and tomato sauce. And I didn't have a continuous glucose monitor on. It was probably a risk taking that, taking the meatballs, because I'm sure there was added sugar in the sauce, and there was probably some breadcrumbs or something in the meatballs. But I came back the next day, I measured my ketones, I was still in ketosis, so it wasn't that much. And then I ordered off the appetizer menu. I had the beef carpaccio, which honestly was very little beef and a whole lot of arugula, and then a ton of little garlic toasts, which I didn't eat. But I find that generally when you're going out to a restaurant, it becomes almost like a game of Where's Waldo. You're trying to find that one thing on the menu that you can either eat or tweak. Breakfast is pretty easy. So the next morning we went out to a breakfast place. I mean, you just get an omelet, hold the toast, hold the hash browns, or you get bacon and eggs or sausage and eggs or whatever. Breakfast, pretty easy. Now, the other question that I got was, what about all the summer cookouts and things like that? I think there are a couple of options. Generally, you're going to be all right in terms of the meat, the protein type items. So burgers, brats, hot dogs, etc. You just skip the bun and then probably skip the ketchup. Just throw some mustard on it, have a pickle, something like that. I think lots of times the snack trays. I mean, you can eat some cruciferous vegetables. You can get some broccoli, some cauliflower, dunk it into the ranch dressing, cheese trays, things like that. Another option is just offer to bring something. When you get invited, say, hey, I make this wicked radish potato salad that I saw in Serious Keto. Or maybe I'll bring Steve's KFC clone coleslaw. So that's an option as well. In terms of alcoholic beverages, if you're going to have those, then you almost got to bring your own. In which case, if I were drinking, and I'm not, but if I were, I would probably look at some of the seltzers, the hard seltzers, because there are a lot of those out there that are low carb, extremely low carb. There's one brand I saw, I have no idea if it's any good, it's called Carbliss. So it's like car bliss, like bliss, I'm in a state of bliss, but then kind of a play on words, like it's carb less, L-E-S-S. So that's a possibility. Now, while people typically know that I'm keto, and so I don't feel like I need to cover it up. I'm prepared to have the, oh, keto is so bad for you discussion. If you don't want to have those discussions, it's, there are things you can say like, I'm trying to control my blood sugar, or, I've found that wheat products kind of make my joints hurt, or whatever. You're still saying things that are true, but not necessarily planting that I'm keto flag in the ground that sometimes can lead to arguments. People hear what they hear in the media and they believe keto's bad. So anyhow, I think I've answered that question. How do I handle keto during the summer when you're traveling, when you're getting invited to cookouts, etc.? Yeah, I think we're good on that. The second part of this podcast is something I've really kind of wrestled with a while. It's not really a keto topic so much as it is kind of related to Serious Keto. It's definitely related to cooking. It's definitely related to being an influencer or content creator. And the reason I've been reluctant to bring it up is I know that there are some people who are fans of the person that I'm about to talk about, and that person is Alton Brown. What I struggle with is I am a fan of early Alton Brown. I kind of look at him the same way I look at Indiana Jones or Paul McCartney. Like the first 60% of their careers or movies or albums, I love. The more recent stuff, can kind of do without. And Serious Eats, was that what it's called? No, Good Eats. I'm thinking Serious Keto. Good Eats was amazing. I think a tremendous amount of us learned about cooking and food science from Alton Brown. It was a great show. It was funny. It was educational. It was great. And I'd listened to podcasts that he had done subsequent to that show talking about why he quit doing it after 7 seasons. And he talked about the pressure of just sort of always doing something better, always one-upping himself. And certainly that's something I think a lot of content creators feel. You're only as good as your last video. And that's a struggle. Then what I witnessed in him, and I know I'm not alone, I wanted to get out and sort of do some searching and reading in Reddit and things like that about other people's thoughts on it. I'd heard that he had kind of bad-mouthed keto a bit. I couldn't find any specific instances of it, but I'd heard that from a couple of sources. The thing for me is he just started seeming progressively grumpier. And I think part of it happened in Iron Chef America, where he was really kind of, I don't know, he wasn't the primary character. He was sort of the master of ceremonies, but also sort of almost like the, I don't know, sidekick, the Ed McMahon of the show. And then he did Cutthroat Kitchen, and even though he said that he was sort of playing a character on that, sort of the mean guy, I think it came fairly naturally to him. And then I met him as part of a meet and greet when he was doing one of his tours, and I kind of hate saying this about someone who I really truly admire, but I think that you can tell a lot about a person. I forget who made this quote originally, but you can tell a lot about a person's character by how they treat the people that cannot benefit them. The people, perhaps it's their underlings, their employees, their minions, or just general strangers. A janitor or housekeeping or things like that. And I saw the way that he was sort of being very, very, the polite word I think would be directive to a lot of the people that worked with him. But then when I went and did the meet and greet, first he wouldn't shake hands. He refused that. Whatever. Maybe it's a health concern. Maybe he's a germaphobe. That's fine. I'll respect that. But then as I was trying to make conversation with him, a lot of it was very dismissive and corrective. So I had said, "Hey, what was it like when you and William Shatner made that video where you did muffins together?" And he's like, "It was biscuits." Very terse and kind of snippy. And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then he didn't then answer the question. Then a little bit later, as he was signing a couple other things for Courtney and me, I said, "Oh, I also want to thank you. In your podcast, you recommended the book, The Minotaur Takes a Smoke Break." And he said, "It's a cigarette break." Again, why? I don't know that it was necessary to come back and correct me, unless I'm being overly sensitive on that. He could have just been like, "Oh yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it." Then when he was up on stage and he would have audience members come up, he seemed genuinely irritated to have to interact with audience members. And like I said, I thought maybe this was a one-off sort of thing, or maybe this is just his new character. I'm sort of this persnickety, crotchety sort of guy. But I got out onto Reddit and started reading other people and other people's interactions with him, things like that, whether it was a meet and greet or, "Hey, I saw him at a grocery store parking lot," and things like that. And it seems to be that a lot of people have had this sort of vibe off of him. Ultimately, what kind of broke it for me was during the COVID period, he started doing these videos like the lockdown, I forget what it was called, lockdown kitchen, I don't know what it was. But I witnessed his behavior, the dynamic with his wife. There was a lot of drinking going on too, and it struck me as a sort of a bad look for someone who I think has done an exceptional job crafting his image up until a while back. Anyhow, recently he showed up in my Instagram feed, and it's kind of wild. He looks like, I'm not going to say the Unabomber, but his hair now is long, and he's still bald up front, but all long and shaggy in back, this big bushy beard, and he seems tired and like he doesn't want to do this anymore. And he announced that he's gonna go off and do a 10-week tour, but he's like, "This is it. This is the final thing. I'm done. I'm retiring from all of this." And his next book isn't going to be a cookbook. It's actually going to be a book of essays. And I couldn't tell exactly from his videos on Instagram whether it's just a bad camera angle or what, but it looks like he's also gotten kind of heavy, and he's always been, a pretty slim guy. It was a very weird experience seeing him look like this when I'm used to seeing him, very slender, very, very conscious of his image, his appearance, his dress, etc. And very often, and the reason I'm sharing all of this is sometimes I've had people comment, "Steve, you're kind of like the Alton Brown of keto," which I consider a compliment. I absolutely consider that a compliment. And very often what I will do is I'm creating content or thinking about how I'm going to reply to people, I will think, what would Alton Brown do? The early Alton Brown, the good eats Alton Brown. How would he respond to this? Or would he not respond at all? Or how would he handle this particular recipe? So I still look at him as a sort of role model. And then I also look at him as sort of an inverse role model more recently, in that if I see myself becoming that sort of grumpy guy, that guy who is doing all of this content creation reluctantly or out of a sense of obligation and clearly don't seem to enjoy it anymore, then it's time to stop, I think, rather than, taint my reputation the same way I think the last two Indiana Jones movies did for Indiana Jones and that franchise, or pretty much every album by Paul McCartney after Paul McCartney and Wings Back to the Egg. I think that was his last really solid one. But those are my thoughts. I still have a tremendous amount of respect and affection for Alton Brown, but where he's at right now, at least what I've seen on Instagram, and he hasn't done a YouTube video in over a year. I miss old Alton Brown, and I hope he can find his way back. Maybe this tour will invigorate him. I don't know. I don't know. But my promise to you, and I guess this is where I kind of put a bow around all of this, is if I do feel myself getting into that, I don't enjoy it anymore, I'm not happy anymore, I resent you. Oh, I can't even imagine that. But if I start feeling any of those vibes, I will, out of respect for all of you, just say, all right, I'm done. I'm out of here. It's been a blast. But I hope that never comes, because currently I'm still enjoying it. I love all of you to death. I'm glad that you take a little bit of time every Monday, or whatever day you decide to watch, and spend it with me during this podcast, especially when I ramble, like this last 10 minutes. So thanks for sticking around. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.